Hello, hello, hello. Uncle Tickles here, and welcome to our extra special bonus Easter content. Because we're all cooped up in our houses and drinking a little bit more, Uncle Tickles wanted to deliver a Easter gift to you and your families in the form of how to make a better cocktail. To help us do that, we have Greg Nordholm, a good friend, a better father, and potentially even a better master of cocktails. Known Greg for a long time, and he's one of the people that you invite over to your party, not just because he's a good time, but because you know he's going to bring a couple of cocktails, some maybe artisan mixers, and some really dope food. So, Greg, why don't you introduce yourself to all of the listeners and watchers of New Dad?
What's up, New Dad fam? My name's Greg, as he mentioned. I've known Tom for about 10 years, probably. I'm judging that based on how long my wife and I have been together, and that's how I met him. I have a 20-month-old son, Gabriel, Gabe the Babe, and I've worked in the restaurant industry essentially since I was 14, so over 20 years. Ironically, my mixology skill set is based on my love for being creative and not so much what I learned in working in bars. When I was working in bars back in Boston in college, bartending was cracking Bud Lights and pouring Jack and Coke. So
Totally.
What has become the new wave of cocktailing is, I've learned it through my new job, which is working with restaurateurs to develop and design restaurants. I haven't actually been a professional mixologist. So.
Well, and I worked as a bartender for quite a long time and have zero skills as a mixologist. So, I drink whiskey on the rocks and, pretty happy with that. But that's kind of why I wanted to have you. I'm sitting here as we speak with a trusty Basil Hayden in hand.
Cheers.
And, cheers. And what's happening is, right, I'm actually drinking a lot more wine during this time because it's easy. My wife likes wine. At the end of a day, pop a bottle for her, pour her a glass, and it's really easy just to pour myself a glass. Or I just go straight to the Basil Hayden. But you get bored. It's been 3 weeks of that, and, I'm kind of miss your cocktails. So I wanted to have you on and educate us on how people like myself can make a tasty Greg-style cocktail in their own homes for those of us who don't have that foundation of knowledge. So what do you have planned for us today?
I am going to walk us through two very basic cocktails that essentially are interchangeable for whatever your spirit of choice is, what you have around the house. I'm going to break it down as simple as possible so that you can pretty much immediately go make these cocktails. We're going to do a whiskey sour and we're going to do an old fashioned.
Beautiful.
One is a shaken cocktail. One is the most basic stirred cocktail. And that's kind of, how we separate. Shaken cocktails usually would do with anything with juice, dairy, or egg white. And a stirred cocktail is exclusively spirits.
Okay.
That's when you would shake versus stir cocktails.
Perfect. That is something I did not know. Now you said these drinks that we're making today, they're versatile. You can kind of switch out your favorite spirits, however you want them. So we're using whiskey for our two drinks today. Could say someone use vodka for these drinks?
You could. I would then probably lean towards using other flavor components to amp that up, where whiskey is going to bring flavor profiles that vodka doesn't have.
Yep.
But you can certainly, so for instance, the sour we're going to do, it's essentially the same build as the most basic margarita.
Gotcha. Okay.
So why don't we just get into it, right?
Yeah, jump in.
Right.
I'll ask questions as you go.
I'm going to grab a bottle of whiskey back here.
Perfect.
I'm going to use your fave, the Basil Hayes one.
Yes.
And so for a whiskey sour or any sour, shaken sour cocktail, this could be with vodka. This could be with scotch, with bourbon, with rye. The basic breakdown is a 2-1-1. Okay. 2 ounces, and it's more of parts. So we'll get away from ounces. 2 parts alcohol, 1 part your sour, 1 part your sweet.
Glad you broke it down to parts. So essentially, if you have a shot glass, pour 2 shots of whatever your spirit is into the glass, and that's your 2 parts. And then you would use that same shot glass for your next 2 parts, 1 and 1.
Yeah, that's correct.
Perfect.
And I will tell you that I typically dial it down from the 1-1 when it comes to a sour like this, because it'll ultimately be, you'll lose the base spirit if
Gotcha.
you go. So what I'm actually doing is a straight 2-ounce pour over the whiskey
Okay.
and 3/4 ounce of my sour and my sweet.
Perfect.
But again, if you get away from ounces and you just think about parts, it's way easy to just do this at any cocktail, right?
Beautiful.
But again, this exact mix is a margarita. So I'm using a double dem syrup, which is a 2 parts dark sugar to water, so it's heavier and sweeter.
Okay.
Using lemon juice, right?
Right.
A margarita, swap out the whiskey with tequila, swap out this with either a honey simple syrup or an agave simple syrup, 1-to-1.
And let's pause for a second, because
Yeah.
there might be some listeners who they've heard of simple syrups, but they've never made one themselves. Again, it sounds intimidating, but I'm going to switch over to me real quick. I'm by no means, super handy. I have a blackberry simple syrup that we made yesterday. It takes, total of 5 minutes, maybe, not including prep time. Maybe 15 minutes total prep. Is that what you'd say?
Yeah, totally. And so here's a tip and trick for all y'all listeners out there is what I do is I will use a little bit less water to sugar, and then I'll drop ice in it. So it immediately comes to room temp. And so then you don't have to wait for it to cool, because what you're essentially doing is you're heating up water to dissolve your sugar.
Right. And the proportions of this are typically a 1-to-1, right?
1-to-1, correct.
Okay. So if you're eating a simple syrup at home, a cup of sugar, a cup of water, put it on the stove, let it dilute. As soon as it dilutes, you turn off the heat, and you could either let it sit there and cool, put it in your fridge, or, as Greg's saying, there's, ways to kind of expedite that cooling process.
Yeah, and if you do want to expedite, understand you have to use more of the sugar, because you'll ultimately
water down your syrup.
You're going to water your down, yeah. So if you're going to do that, that's the expectation. Let's say you have people over and, oh, crap, I'm out of simple syrup. Do a 2-to-1 syrup, and then add a couple handfuls of ice, and then you get to your 1-to-1.
Gotcha. And then also just so that's a simple syrup. You want to step your simple syrups up, you can add whatever fruit you have in the house, right?
All sorts of fun stuff. So around Christmas time or the holidays, we do a lot of spice things. So what I'll do is I'll toast cinnamon and allspice and things like star anise in a pan, and then make my simple syrup, and then steep those spices in the simple syrup container for however many days, and then you Christmas flavor the crap out of any cocktail you're going to make with it.
Awesome.
Super easy.
Yeah. Okay. So please continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
And while you're doing that, a lot of people have probably had a whiskey sour. You're thinking, well, I just go to the store and I buy sour mix, and then but that sour mix is typically really, really sweet, really sour, full of stuff that isn't probably good for you. You're already drinking booze, which theoretically isn't good for you. So, this is a nice way.
Debatable.
Yeah, debatable. But, I was a person for a very long time who just bought the store mix. And then, I don't know if it was after having your cocktails or just having the disposable income and really, I say disposable income, that's probably a misconception too. It's probably cheaper to make your own simple syrup.
Absolutely it is. And so for me, this cocktail is the perfect example of it's inexpensive to do, and it's super easy. There's nothing to be intimidated about doing this.
Right.
I'm not even using fresh lemon juice. This shit is some Kroger out the plastic bottle lemon juice. I put it in here because it's easier to pour.
Perfect.
That's it. That's it. So once you have your 3 ingredients in your shaker, you want to shake for 10, 15 seconds. Some might say longer. Who really knows? Again, I don't get paid to do this.
That's right. You're just an amateur.
And then get ice in your glass. If you're at a fancy restaurant, they'd have a big old cube in there probably for you, which I am going to use one in our next cocktail. And then just pour this sucker out. And there you go. I mean, this is the most basic cocktail you can ever have.
Would you garnish it with, like, say, a cherry or something? Or
You could do cherry or
oh, look at that.
a peel of lemon.
Boom.
And the little, quick pro tip, squeeze the rind out. So rind side out in, and it releases the essential oils. Rub the tip of the glass like that. and you're going to get that lemon aroma with your drink.
If
you want to step it up a notch, you can, throw a couple of dashes of any of your favorite bitters that you might have. That will also, bring another level to this. Or if you have any sort of liqueurs that you're using or not using, you can always, add that as another fourth component into this cocktail. Totally. Once you learn the basics of this cocktail, you can kind of make it as crazy as you want.
Awesome. And so just as a quick review, in that glass, you basically have 2 shots of your whiskey. You have a shot of your simple syrup and a shot of lemon juice. I know you said you reduced it a little bit for this, but it's that easy.
That easy.
Yeah.
And I think anybody at home doing this is going to kind of measure out to their own palate, right?
Yep.
This is what I've found to be most suitable for me and what I've found as I've made it for other people.
Yeah.
And go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I mean, when you're making it for other people, it's not like you're going to make it as boozy as fuck, like as you and I would probably want it.
I just drink straight booze like you.
So let's go to the next drink.
So the next cocktail, this is an old fashioned. I mean, this predates the cocktail, hence the name old fashioned. So this is even more simple than what we just made because this is less steps and less ingredients. So here we go.
Beautiful.
We're going to fill a stirring glass. As I said before, this isn't going to have any citrus in it, no dairy or egg whites. This is a stirred cocktail. So in Wisconsin, they would make it a little bit different. That's where I grew up. They're going to, muddle maraschino cherries and orange. They're going to throw your whiskey or brandy as is typical in Wisconsin. And then they're going to do a soda gun topping. And that's like a Wisconsin brandy fashion. This is a little bit more refined. You might want to, the way I'm doing it, choose a nicer bourbon or scotch or rye or whatever whiskey or tequila. I mean, this cocktail right here literally can take any single alcohol you want, maybe except gin. Right. That would be my only one standout.
Well, and you bring up a good point because, and maybe it's more specific to this drink, but my guess is that it's probably true for a lot of different drinks. But this is one where everyone has their own way for an old fashioned, right?
Absolutely.
People are very particular about it. So the reason I point that out is don't add us. If you're looking at Greg and you're saying, well, actually, he should have muddled this. We're just here trying to show you how to make one in the simplest way. As we're all stuck in our homes, these are ingredients you might have at home, just laying around, and hopefully you can throw them together for a nice cocktail.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Different whiskeys, different tequilas, different mezcals, they're going to all bring something special and unique to every old fashioned it makes. It is a 3-part cocktail again, but even more basic. So we have our 2 ounces of Basil Hayden's. We're doing bourbon again. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a 3/4 ounce pour of our simple syrup.
And again, this is because the whiskey brings so much flavor already.
Correct. And here we're going to use a couple dashes of bitters. I am using Fee Brothers old-fashioned bitters. This is probably, if I had to choose one bitters to use in all sorts of cocktails, this would be it.
Awesome.
It is really good. Most people know this brand, which is the classic Angostura. Mm-hmm. That is probably the most typical and found, but these are amazing. These bitters are great. I use them in all sorts of cocktails. So anyway, and they make a bunch of different flavors, but this specific one, the old-fashioned aromatic bitters. I'm going to do like 3 good solid dashes. I do love a bitter cocktail. And here we're just going to stir this for about 10 to 15 seconds. The point of this is not only to chill, but you're also diluting the alcohol. So it's not as, kicky in the nuts.
Totally. I mean, I get a lot of shit because, I can't drink booze without ice in it. And I need a lot of ice in it. And I typically will wait for the ice to melt down a little bit to kind of tone it down.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny because you're always the guy who's drinking whiskey on the rocks, but you can't do a shot, which everyone thinks is hysterical.
It's wild. I mean, and the truth is, if I do a warm shot, I can do shots if they're chilled, but this is no joke. If I do a warm shot, and so any of you who are out there listening, if you're partying with me and you want to buy me a shot, please make sure it's chilled because it could be my first drink of the night, and if I do a warm shot, it's coming back out. I don't know what it is. The warm booze just does something to my stomach. So the drink you just made, really, it's just whiskey, simple syrup and bitters. That's it?
That's it. And that's it. And we stirred it up. So here we go. I'm going to adjust the camera angle a little bit and I'll get down. So I don't have a grown man sized orange, so I am garnishing with my kid's cutie.
Oh, a little cutie, yeah. Thanks, Gabe.
So again, I have my peel. Here I'm going to twist it out. It's going to open up the essential oils. I'm going to rub it around my glass, get all sexy with it. You need a strainer as well so the ice doesn't fall in. I do have a big fancy cube. That's something also, if you're building a home bar or want to get into making cocktails, something super easy that like looks really cool.
Oh, yeah.
It is the big ice, the big ice.
Love those, yeah. You got the square one in there. I like the balls. The balls.
Yeah.
I
have, we
all
have
different shapes.
All sorts of shapes and sizes, but it's a game changer. It makes your cocktails look great. And a big thing about this is now that you've already diluted your cocktail with this ice, a larger ice cube will not dilute your cocktail much more. It will keep it cold. And that's the whole point of this. It's not about being fancy as much as it is truly functional. And so there you go. That is the most basic old-fashioned you're ever going to do.
That's awesome. And I would say the other advantage of having those ice cubes around is in a pinch, if you have a home invader, you can just throw one of those ice cubes into a sock and you got yourself a nice little weapon.
This is also true. Reminds you of Full Metal Jacket.
Oh yeah, that's what got my mind going there. This is awesome.
Look at me. I'm all alone in my house for the first time in a month. I have 3 beverages in front of me.
Oh, this is fantastic, Greg. This is great. I'm going to throw you a little curveball here. I have some things off to the side. I'm going to bring them over here, and I'm going to make my own cocktail. You can I'm using the knowledge that you've kind of given us today. I'm gonna make a cocktail. However, I can do this. I can make the cocktail. So I'm gonna switch things here, and then let me know how I'm doing, given your professional expertise.
Okay, I'm gonna coach you through this.
Yeah, coach me through this. All right, so what I have here is I have a little cut. I mean, these are legitimately things I just grabbed from our pantry. So I had some Kettle One vodka. I almost went straight.
What are you pouring that into,
I was gonna pour it straight into the glass, but then just for the sake of this, I have the shot glass here, so we'll do the 2-to-1.
So your intent is to not shake this?
No, I'm gonna shake it. But I'm gonna do something kind of crazy when I go to shake it. So here's a 2, and then I have my simple syrup that I showed earlier. And so when I say it randomly, I do randomly have this, but I understand most people won't just have simple syrup laying around. So it's a 1 part simple syrup.
Super easy to make.
And then I don't have a lemon, but right here I do have a lime in the house. So we'll go right in there.
That is a pro move right there, dude.
Yeah, dude. Who needs to dirty more dishes?
Yeah, for real.
So then 1 part that. And so now to shake, I'm going to go a little shaky, shake. A little shaky, shake. Oh, yeah. Let everyone see all the goods, the good Easter outfit. It's all shaken up. And so this would then be vodka sour.
Yeah, sour-ish.
Sour-ish.
Let me see what's up. Is it good?
Damn, that tastes just like Easter juice. It's fantastic. Greg, fucking nailed it. Thank you. We're going to have Greg back periodically. I think this is going to be a reoccurring segment. There's always good reasons to drink, better reasons than quarantines. And, I certainly miss you, buddy.
You too.
We're going to get together as soon as this whole thing blows over and have a couple of your cocktails. Until then, we'll keep the virtual meetings going and, tell Lauren and Gabe how much Uncle Tickles loves them.
Yeah, same to your family. I hope to meet Solo soon. I haven't met him.
I know. Thank God for this podcast because I think the majority of people in my family have gotten to see him because of that. Well, thank you again, dude. I'm going to enjoy this cocktail as well as the whiskey I have. I might actually go show Lita I actually made a decent cocktail.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, she's been very upset about my lack of good cocktails in the house over this Corona break. And I think we just remedied it a little bit. So everyone else out there, take care, drink up, and happy Easter. Bye-bye.